So today's podcast is going to be all about the electron configuration and orbital diagrams in atoms. And basically what you've learned in the past is wrong. This is the Bohr model, and there are energy levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've drawn these circles probably since 3rd grade. And there's nothing completely wrong with them, but electrons simply do not travel around the nucleus of an atom just like planets do. Of course, we are not two-dimensional like the planets. So what you've seen with models of atoms before is not completely incorrect, but really truly they're in orbitals. So if you notice, there's a similarity in these words. There's orbits and orbitals. And orbitals are an area, an orbit is a path. So we'll get into that later in a different podcast, but today's podcast is to understand how to draw the different quantum mechanical models using the SPDF notation. If you notice, this is the Bohr model, which you're used to, and this is what we're moving towards right here. And again, in a different podcast, I'll cover the shapes. So, here we go. We're going to go ahead and use this as a game, like a hotel. So we're going to call this the quantum mechanical hotel, or the current method, the charged cloud model, and they're both nicknames for each other. If you'll notice, you're going to be a clerk, by the way, today, and in this hotel there are different blocks. So let's go ahead and we'll learn the rules to checking electrons into our hotel. First of all, we're going to call rooms in our hotel orbitals. That's a key word that you have to understand and remember. So this orbital right here is a key term. An orbital is a set area, okay, it's an area, not a path, like the Bohr model, where up to 2 electrons can be found. That means I can put 0, 1, or 2 electrons. And we're going to represent a room with a line. Some people online represent it with a box or a circle. We're simply going to represent it with a line. And so this is going to be our room or our orbital. So we might as well get into lingo right now. We're going to call a room an orbital. Okay? And we're going to put electrons in that room or orbital. And if you want to use an analogy, this is a room with 2 beds. This is a bed by the door, and this is a bed by the window, excuse me. And the least energy to put an electron in is a bed by the door. And we're going to put an electron in, and we're going to configure it like this and show it spinning up. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. So a room is an orbital, and it can hold 0, 1, or 2 electrons. Now, these rooms are found in blocks or sublevels, and these sublevels have different prices or different energy. We're going to order them from less expensive to more expensive, or lower energy to higher energy. This is kind of an odd concept I'm talking about. I'm like, why would I talk about a hotel in chemistry? So that helps you with that odd concept, because the S block has 1 room, or 1 line, or 1 orbital. The P block, odd, has 3 lines, or 3 rooms, or 3 orbitals. The D block has 5 lines, or rooms, or orbitals. And the F block has 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines or orbitals. So this is an odd concept, and they're from less expensive to more expensive, or low in energy to high in energy. And the analogy here is 1, 3, 5, 7, very odd concept. And so you can see right here that the number of shapes or orbitals, sorry, this is kind of dark here, that there is 1 S line, 3 P lines, 5 D lines, and 7 F lines. Each of these lines can hold up to 2 electrons. So if you have 1 line, that means you can hold up to 2 electrons. I'll talk about how and why we're doing that later. But if you look right here, this is 2 electrons. Oh, that's a bad color, isn't it? So there's 2 electrons right here. If I have 3 P lines, 1, 2, 3 P lines, because it's odd, right? 1, 3, 5, 7, I can hold up to 6 electrons, because I'm going to put electrons in like this. And I'll talk about that in a second. But if each of those little lines represents an electron, in the P spaces I can hold up to 3. So how does this go again? The orbitals are rooms. They're set area with up to 2 electrons represented with a line. The sublevels are S, P, D, and F. And they hold 1, 3, 5, and 7 lines. So if you look, here's your S block. S is 1, P is 3, D is 5, and F is 7 lines. What do those lines represent? Rooms. And silly putty dries fast, or however you want to remember it. Silly putty dries fast. That's the order that you can remember the electrons and how they're placed in order of low energy to high energy. And if you remember this is an odd concept, then you can also remember again that this is 1, 3, 5, and 7 lines, or rooms, or orbitals. And if you notice on this periodic table over here, it shows you a specific way to check things in an order, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, there are 3 key people that are in charge of this hotel: Aufbau, Pauli, and Hund. They talk about how they check electrons into these rooms or orbitals. So, Aufbau says that you need to follow a specific order. You can't just put an electron here, an electron here, an electron here, an electron here. You need to actually physically follow a specific order. And that order is going to be us starting off at a certain point in a hotel and walking along in a specific order to drop electrons off in different areas. Pauli says that electrons are placed in orbitals, so the first one spins up, and oh look, sorry, this got it in the way here, there you go, and the other one spins down. So if I draw a line, whoopsie, if I draw a line which represents a room, then I'm going to go ahead and put the first electron in spinning up, and the second electron, if there is one, spinning down. So I can have 3 possibilities: a blank line, I can have a line with 1 electron, or I can have a line with 2 electrons. I can't put any more in there though, because I can only put 2 electrons, because what happens is, oh, I'm moving the wrong thing. What happens is that electrons can spin one way or the other, clockwise or counterclockwise. There's no other way to put an electron in that spot. So, who are our people? We'll come back in a second. We've got one more, Aufbau, Pauli, and now there's Hund. And Hund says if there's more than one room, why share if you don't have to? Put the electrons in going up, up, up. So if I have this right here, if I have an S room, I have to put electrons in order. If I have P rooms, I have 3 different rooms in the P block, right? And now I have a choice. Why share if you don't have to? I put my first electron here. I don't have to share because I have 3 separate rooms in my P's. So I can put another electron here, and I want to put my third electron here, excuse me. And if I have more electrons, then I go back. But we're going to practice that in a second. So, who's our, oh, I already had this. So here you go, look at this right here. This is good. What's true? I fill my S's because I have no choice. My P's right here, if you notice, I've got 3 separate lines. And I put them in going up, up, up. Not up, down, up. Okay, this is wrong. And we'll talk about why in a second. Okay? So you need to write these down and understand and memorize who these guys are. So here you go. Orbitals are rooms. They're in a set area with up to 2 electrons. They're represented with a line. This is an odd concept. Remember that. There's 1, 3, 5, and 7 lines. Aufbau says we put things in an order. DJ Pauli's Spin Man says you put one up and then one down in a spot. And Hund says if you're in the S's, you go up and down, but if you're in the P's, then you go up, 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 because you have a choice. Why share if you don't have to? So there's no better way to do this than to jump in off the deep end and just practice. In order, this is how Aufbau likes to place his electrons in a hotel. So if you have 1 electron, you put an electron in this box right here. Then you walk down the hall in the hotel, and you put an electron in this box. There's no more room on that floor. So you go back to the elevator shaft right here, and you go to the 2nd floor, and you get off. And then you put an electron in this box, and then in this box, and then you walk down the hall, this box, this box, this box. Do you see the order? It's like you're actually walking down a hallway, and you're putting an electron in each space, and there's no room on this floor anymore, so you go back to the elevator and get off at the next floor. And we're going to do this over and over and over again. It's the floor plan for every single atom. So what I've done is I have taken this periodic table and found something online, and it's blank. So if you look, in each one of these boxes is an electron. So this is what we're actually going to draw. And we're going to draw it in a better configuration than doing this right here. But if you notice, I'm putting a different electron in each box, aren't I? And what am I doing? I'm following a specific order. The order that Aufbau says to follow. Go along and walk along the hallway and drop electrons off in each box. So let's practice. And here's our areas, S, P, D, and F. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look on the periodic table, And sorry, you might want to get your periodic table out because this is kind of small. And in the periodic table for hydrogen, you have 1 proton, which means you also have 1 electron, which means I have 1 electron to place into my hotel. I'm going to pull up in my car, and I'm going to stop in front of the hotel on the first floor, and I'm going to see a room. That room on the first floor is called S, because this right here is called the S area. See right here? This whole area is the S area. Oh, come on. This whole area right here is the S area, and so is this. So if you notice, where is hydrogen? Hydrogen's smack in that S, isn't it? And it shows you right here. So this S area, we have 1 electron. This is the S right here. And we're going to put an electron in that box. So I'm standing in front of the 1 S's. I'm going to have 1 electron. I'm going to put it in spinning up, because that's what Pauli says. I'm following Aufbau's order. I'm not just checking an electron in over here. That would be wrong. I'm putting it in the first spot, the first box. I'm showing it spinning up, and all I have is 1 electron, so I'm done. So I'm going to put a 1 here, and that tells me I'm finished. This is called the electron configuration. And the arrow part is called the orbital diagram. It diagrams actually what's living in that orbital. What's an orbital again? Oh, that's right, a room. Okay? So, let's go to the next one. Here we have helium. Where is helium? Oh look, helium is right here. And that means it has 2 electrons. So I didn't mean to circle hydrogen to confuse you, but you have to actually walk past hydrogen in the hotel to get to helium. So helium's here. I have 2 electrons, correct? Because I have 2 protons, so I have 2 electrons. That means I need to draw 2 electrons. Well, where am I going to put them? Pull up to your hotel. You're going to put an electron in this box, and then you're going to walk down the hall and put an electron in this box. So let's do that. Draw your room. What kind of room is it? You're on the first floor in front of the S rooms. How do you know that? Because this is where your S block is, right here. See that? So you're in the S rooms. You put 1 electron spinning up, and then what does DJ Pauli Spin Man say? He says put the second electron in going down. Am I done drawing my electrons? Yes, I am. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a 2 here. That means I'm done drawing. Now, look at your electron configuration right here. Right, electron configuration. And your orbital diagram. Right? And if you notice, this 2 here matches the 2 here. I've got 2 electrons here, and that matches the 2 here as well. I put them in an order. I put an electron in this box, and then I put an electron in this box, and I'm finished, and my floor is full. Let's go to the next one. If you notice, there's going to be a pattern that emerges here. So, let's go ahead and do lithium. Where does lithium live? It's on the 2nd floor. I'm sorry, this is blurry, guys. It's on the 2nd floor, right? And it's going to fill that S electron. But what do you have to do first? Oh, Aufbau says you have to go in order, right? So you're going to fill this box first, this box second, and this box third. But you're going to end up on the 2nd floor. So, pull up to your hotel. Put an electron in this box first, then this box second, and this box third. Why? Because lithium has 3 electrons. 3 protons equals 3 electrons. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. What's that line represent? An orbital. What floor am I standing in front of? The first floor. What type of room am I standing in front of first? Well, let's erase this. And what room do you pull up next to? You pull up in front of the 1S spot. So that's 1S, because I'm in the S block. I put an electron in spinning up. DJ Pauli Spin Man says I put an electron in spinning down. Am I done? Well, I'm done with that floor because look, I put an electron in this box and an electron in this box. No more room on that floor. I'm done with that S. I'm going to put a 2 in there. Because of the S's, I only draw 1 line, correct? Right? Remember? S, P, D, F. I draw 1 line for S's. We're not at P's yet. Now question, are there any more rooms on the first floor? Nope. So you got to go back to the elevator, get off on the 2nd floor, and the door's open, and look where you're standing in front of. You're staying in front of the S block rooms. So I draw one line. I'm on the second floor in front of the S block rooms. I'm going to go ahead and draw an electron going up because that's all the electrons I have left. Why? Because I put 2 electrons on that first floor. So I have only 3 electrons to draw, correct? And I just drew 2 here, and I'm going to put the third one right there. So I'm going to put a 1 here. So if you notice, I have 1s2, 2s1. This is my electron configuration right here. This is technically my orbital diagram, just the arrows. But when you do an orbital diagram, I want you to do both. Let's keep going. All right, let's skip over to boron. Boron's here. It's got 5 protons, and so therefore it has 5 electrons. So what do we have to do? We have to follow Aufbau order, and we have to fill them in order from lowest to highest energy. Get in the pattern here. Drive up to the first floor. Put an electron in this box, electron in this box. Go back to the second floor. Doors open. You're in front of the 2s. Put an electron in this box, electron in this box. That's 4 total electrons. How many do you have left? 1. Correct? So it means you've got to walk all the way down the hall and put an electron in this first block. What's that called? The 2p. Okay? So let's follow that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up to my hotel. We're actually going to do this now. And I'm going to go ahead and in each of these boxes, right, I'm going to end up here, aren't I? So it means I need to put an electron here, and here, and here, and here, and here. 5 electrons. So when you pull up in front of your hotel, where do you pull up in front of? You pull up in front of the 1s's, correct? So what do you do when you have an S? You draw one line, and you say, I'm in the 1s's. I'm going to have an electron spinning up, and I'm going to have electrons spinning down. DJ Pauli Spin Man. I'm going to put a 2 because I've put an electron in this box, and there's no more room in that orbital, that line, and there's no room on that floor. So I put a 2 right here because that tells me I'm down my orbital. Where you got to go? Back to the second floor. Elevator doors open. Where are you staying in front of? The 2s block. So here's 2s. I'm going to draw a 1 line because s's have 1 line or 1 room or 1 orbital. Spinning up and spinning down. I'm done because I can't put any more electrons in that line, so I put a 2. Now what? Well, I have 5 total, right? I just drew 4, and I have 1 electron left. So that means I need to walk all the way down the hall, and I'm in the P rooms, right? This 1s, by the way, guys, goes with this over here. So I'm in the P area. Look at this. I'm in this P area. Well, what do we say about P rooms? S's have 1. P's have 3. So I actually have to physically draw 1, 2, 3 P lines. I'm going to call it 2P because that's where I am. I'm in the P block in second floor, and I have 1 electron to draw. So I'm not going to walk all the way down the hall and put an electron in this line, or in the middle of the hall and draw it in this line. I'm going to put it in this very first orbital and draw it going up. I'm going to put a 1 here. And now I'm finished. So if you look, let's circle these letters here, these numbers. What do I have? 2 and 2 is 4, and 1 is 5. And I'm done. How about that? And that's boron. Now, let's go ahead and skip to Hund. Hund says if you're going to go ahead and put electrons into rooms, you have to, when you're in the P block, if you don't have to share, then you don't. So let me show you what I mean with that. So let's go ahead and draw aluminum. Okay? Wow. What's aluminum? Aluminum has 13. So that means I have 13 protons. You know what, actually, let me go ahead and put this up here so that we actually have space to draw this. So aluminum is 13 protons, so therefore it has 13 electrons to draw. So we're going to put these in an order. So you're going to put electrons on this floor in Aufbau order, and you're going to fill that floor. Go back to the elevator and fill this floor in order. And then you're going to go and fill this floor all the way up to aluminum and including aluminum. So let's look and see how that works. And remember, this 1s actually goes with this block over here, this cube. So we're going to pull up to our hotel. And we're going to put electrons in that 1s spot right there. So what do we draw? We draw 1s. We put 1 electron in going up and 1 electron going down. DJ Pauli Spin Man. We put a 2. We're finished. Here's my first electron and my second electron. Think of it just like you're dropping electrons off to get to this box right here. Now, you need to go to the second floor, don't you? Elevator doors open. Where are you standing in front of? The 2s block, aren't you, right there? So I'm going to draw one line for S and put a 2s right here. I'm going to put electrons spinning up and electrons spinning down, because that's all the electrons I can fit in the s's. And I'm going to put a 2, which means I'm finished with that area, that orbital. Now what? You can't just go to the elevator and go to the third floor. You need to physically walk down the hall and fill these P's. So I'm actually going to fill these P's right here. Right here. Now when I draw P's, how many lines do I draw? 1, 2, 3. If you said that, you're correct. Right? SPDF, 1, 3, 5, 7. I'm going to draw my P's, but what did Hund say again? Hund said, why share if you don't have to? And you'll understand why later. Okay, but you need to check your electrons in like this. Going up, going up, going up. And then going down, going down, going down. I'm going to put a 6 here. Now what? Well, I actually need to put more electrons in. So I need to go back to the third floor, and I need to draw an S spot. So there's 3s. I need to put electron in going up. Why? Because I'm on the third floor, I'm in this area. So far I've checked these electrons in. Now I need to put in electrons in this area right here. So I put one up and one down, and I put a 2. I'm done with the s's. Now I need to physically walk down the hall to the p's, and I need to draw 1, 2, 3 lines and put 3p, because that's where I am. And how do you fill them? Going up. And I can put 3p1. If you add up the valence electrons, 2 and 2 is 4, and 6 is 10, and 2 is 12, and 1 is 13. And I just drew aluminum. I'm going to go ahead and draw one more, and then I'm going to cut this and put it on a different podcast, okay? So, because the bell is going to ring, I'm going to go ahead and do oxygen. All right? So, I'm going to go ahead and oxygen is 8. I need to put one in the 1s and have it going up and down, because s's have one line, right? I fill this box and this box. Then I go ahead and draw a 1s. Excuse me, a 2s. Sorry, the bell just rang and I'm trying to hurry, so I won't do that. I need to fill this area right here. So put one up and one down and put a 2 right here. Now what I need to do? Now I need to go in the hall, go to over here, and I need to fill those 4 boxes. So this is what I'm talking about with Hund's rule. I'm going to go ahead and draw 3p lines. I'm in the 2p area. And I'm going to put an electron going up, going up, going up, and then one going down. If you had drawn the p's like this, up, down, then you're wrong. You're breaking Hund's rule. You need to go up, 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 and then come back and go down. And when I'm done, I put a 4. And 2 is 4, and 4 is 8, and you're done with oxygen. So I'm going to stop this podcast right now, and I'll come back and talk a little bit more later this week.